Okay, awesome. Cool. I'll get that. Thank you.
All right. Cool. So we're going to do two things today. We're going to work on tone and pace, and we're going to work on some time tracking. So I built a little something to help everyone. Cool. So I have a challenge here for everyone that I want you to do and really think about this and then go match the two. One of the ways you can quickly get better on the phone with where you're at right now, it doesn't matter where you're at in your career, is I want you to record yourself just sometime when you're having a conversation, right? Just a normal conversation. Put your phone down, hit record. When it's just a fun, light, there's no sales involved. You're just hanging out at lunch, having dinner, whatever, talking on a Zoom meeting, just like this, right? Like you're just having a normal phone call and have that recorded. And then I want you to start recording yourself on the phone. And then I want you to play those two next to each other and tell me if you think you sound the same. I will bet large amounts of money. Most everyone will come back and tell me they don't feel they sound the same. I think different points you might feel it, but what you'll discover is you change your tone and voice to get on the phone. So that is right when, Kristen had sent me a recording. I'd been talking to her about this and she was like, and then she heard it. She's like, oh my God, I feel like shit to myself. Oh, I listened, right? And then we hear ourselves. And naturally, our instinct is we don't like our own voice. That's like our natural human reaction is it doesn't matter who you are. We think we sound terrible. But what I'm trying to change is not how we think we sound, but tone and pace. Because tone and pace really, really matters. Okay. What you should really be doing when you're on the phone is have a sticker in front of you that says talk at 75% of what I think I should be talking at, right? Literally, whatever you think your normal voice is on the phone, it's already elevated depending upon your comfortability. Take that down to 75, right? Like start there. When you're at like complex questions, when I'm like, hey, Katie, when we were talking about who would get the home if you passed away, who would get that? I want you to go all the way down to 60%, right? 60%. I want you to go down to when you're asking who's your beneficiary? Who would get the home if you passed away, right? Would it be tough for you financially, if something happened to so and so, right? When you get to there, it's there. Now, when you're at the solution, you're going to go back up to that 70 to 80 speed. Okay. Like you're going to run in there. But when you're in, we'll call it discovery mode, you want to take that down to 60%. Right. So if you normally talk at this cadence when you're on the phone because you're trying to get through it, right? Like time yourself. So that's where I'm going with it. Time how long it takes you to get through the script with an actual timer. Okay. And then look at it and then say, okay, hey, it's taken me this long on a normal call. And then do the math behind that. Okay, I need to cut 25%, additional to that. If it's taking me a minute, it should take me a minute and 25 seconds to say what I just said instead of 1 minute, right? Like you want to add that there and you will instantly notice a massive change. As we're, hold on. I'm muting everybody. Okay. As you're working through that, right? How long, and this is, I want everybody to answer. You can say it out loud or put it in our chat. How long after you ask the question should a pause be? What do we think? How long should the pause be?
As long as it takes.
Right? After you ask. But what's the average, right? Like what do you think, like after asking a question of it be on average, how long should the pause be?
I'll give it like 5 to 10 seconds and then ask the same question again.
That's great. Okay.
I would say
Anyone
probably
else?
at least that, but I probably don't. I'm probably more like 3 seconds.
Yep, you're right there. So right, like, okay, so right, I'm gonna take phone out here, right? Right, I'm gonna put my timer on, right? Where's my timer? Okay, so the average should be 4 to 5 seconds. Okay, so right, like I'll be like, and don't answer, Steve, but I want you to show you guys how long the silence is. Hey, Steve, forbid something were to happen to you, who would get the home if you were to pass away? That was 5 seconds. Did that feel like eternity?
It did.
That was only 5 seconds, guys. That literally was only 5 actual seconds. So that is massive, right? Like when you really start thinking about that, okay, like, whoa, I asked that question. All right. And then here's the biggest one. After your prospect responds, you need to wait at least 1 second before you respond. So their brain shifts from talking to listening. And here's what I mean by that. And we'll talk about this in time tracking. If you're now, we stack, bonus lead appointments on because people no show. But if you're stacking meeting after meeting, you're not giving your brain, you need 5-10 minutes for your brain to process a meeting like this afterwards and, debug your files. Okay. When you ask a question, you want their brain to switch back from talking to listening. So you literally need to wait 1 full second before you respond, right? So when someone says back, oh yeah, hey, if I were to pass away, oh, my wife would get the home. Like I say one Mississippi, like in my head, and then I'll go, right? Like, and I kind of know how long that feels. And that way it's, it's not too long, but their brain's switching back. And there's literally data that shows if you do that, you will get a much better audience from your clients, right? Like when you start digging into the math of how our like neuroplasticity works and how our brains are wired, okay, it's there. All right. So even when you're following a proposition, right? And say we're in the script, hey here, Debbie, we have on here that you're, 28 years young. Are you still 28 or have you had a birthday since then? That was 5 seconds, right?
Right.
Like they're probably not going to wait 5 seconds to answer that one. Oh, hey, I've had a birthday, right? 20, I'm 29 now or whatever they say. That one, they're probably not going to wait, but you want to give them a second to transition through it. And that's where that extra time goes in. Like you've got to sit down and say like, hey, it's there. And as soon as you do that, you will notice a massive change in your show rate and how many appointments you get, right? And how many closes you get. The pace and then tonality of that is right there. So what if you get the client that's like, hey, Trevor, just get to it, man, right? Just get to it. Just get me a quote, all right? I'll increase my pace for someone like that by about 10%, right? I'm going to get up into that 80s range and get going a little faster if they're like that, okay? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my statement shorter, right? I'm going to start making my question shorter. For the person that's like chop chop, right? That's like, hey, get through it. I'm going to shorten down that. Oh, hey, we have your age is 27. Is that right? Right? Like the person that's like pushing me through, but you got to learn that, right? Now, the most important, what about the person that's like, hey, they're hesitant. What is this about again? By what percent, say you're operating in that 70% range, right? And you're just talking to them. We're in the opening. If they're hesitant, how much by a percentage do you think you should decrease your pace? What do we think? Put it in chat, say it out loud.
10%.
All right. Bueller.
I would say 5 at the most, because they're just thinking and it might take them a little longer to think about things.
Decreasing your pace, what do you mean? From like low and slow questioning
To even slower. How much slower should you be going?
if they're confused?
If they're hesitant.
Half.
Yeah, nothing that crazy, Dan.
I wasn't, think-
Half we would be like, how are you today? Right, we're
I
not-
wouldn't think I'm not thinking changing my pace. I may ask the question again.
So a hesitant prospect, studies show on average, if you decrease your pace by about 10%, okay, you're going to see a much more collaborative client just by 10%, because that's how our brains work, right? That what it is that slower pace is disarming them. Faster pace arms them. A slower pace disarms us. So, right, never think it'd be that high. Studies say it can go as high as 15. I think 15 is getting pretty slow, right? I mean, now you're starting to get down to, 50% of your normal speed, right? But that is a lot of times, the pace at what we're speaking at. Okay. So example, when I listen to podcasts, I listen at 1.5 speed because I want to get through it faster. Sometimes I'll listen to it at regular speed just so I know what the person actually sounds like. But I've had people that I'm like, I don't even know what this person actually sounds like because they're talking so fast. And I would, again, bet large sums of money because I'm guilty of it. I've done it. I still do it. It's why I check myself and record myself, that we're talking so fast, we don't sound like our normal self, right? Like how we would be with our friends in a relaxing, we're all at conference, we're all hanging out, we're all relaxed, we're just telling stories, we're all getting to know each other. That's the speed. And then dip it down a little bit when you start talking to them versus probably what every one of us is doing and or continues to do at pace on the phone. Okay. Like that is, that's a pretty one. Now, if we can get them on Zoom, right, you get into mirroring techniques, right? If they lean forward, you lean forward, right? Like that's a whole live and in person is so different, right? Like I studied that for years because my sales were in home, right? Like I was live and in person. So yes, but right, that fast speaker, Chris, if we can get you to slow down, right? Like really slow down, like it's gonna make, like it's there. So when you're going through, I want you to rate yourselves on like a 1 to 5 scale on how you track it. Okay. Is like, so confidence, how confident do you think you sound? And ask your mentor, how confident do you think I sound in this, right? When you're starting, what's your enthusiasm, right? Like how enthusiastic are you? Does it feel like you're smiling when you're on the phone, right? Empathy. Do you also come across as empathetic, right? And rate yourself 1 to 5. Okay. And then like essentially like warmth. Do you feel warm, right? Like, are you getting them to laugh? Are they feeling comfortable? Right. So you've shown empathy. Hey, we want to protect you, but hey, sorry, I got to ask you about your height and weight, young lady. Right. Like there's some warmth there to that situation. Okay. Huge things. Do not be monotone. Not one person on earth wants to listen to someone who talks in a monotone voice because I'm just trying to get through the script. Right. So brand new agents are very guilty of that because, right, you don't know the script well enough. So you talk monotone because you're reading through it. That's where practicing and reading it over and over and saying it out loud is going to make a huge difference. Okay. And then, right, interrupting the prospect. Don't interrupt. Like, just let, the more they're talking, it's better. Okay. Also, don't be Tigger, right? Like, don't be like, right? Like just bouncing off the walls with enthusiasm where you come across as like cheesy, right? Like in that approach, it's like excessive there. And back to that tone and pace, right? have we ever talked to someone that, like, when they're talking, you feel like you have to rush your responses to them? Right? You're like that response is rushed, right? You're like, all you're thinking about is what you're going to say back to them instead of listening to them, right? Active listening is, instead of rushing, right? A rushed response of, yeah, but this is the coverage I can get you, right? No. Listen to what they say and bring that back. And then inconsistent energy levels, right? You're really high, you're really low, all in one call, right? Like we kind of want to be even keeled. We're the professionals here. Okay. So, right. Week 1, record baseline calls, right? Like we're going to record ourselves this week and record calls. Our homework for this, okay, is we're going to find some brave souls that are willing to come and share this and talk about it next week. Okay. So, right, we're going to go record our calls, right? And we're going to record ourselves listening. And then we're going to talk about what we thought we sounded like just having a conversation with someone versus Allison versus what, what we sound like when we're on the phone, right? That pace and tonality through that is so important. Okay. So, right, record ourselves and a normal conversation, right? Even if we're on like just Zoom, we're all in office hours chatting, how you talk there, record that, and then match that versus what your speed is on the phone. And they probably don't match right now. There's a good chance they do this instead of this, right? They're probably going, right? Instead of like mesmerizing here. And I'm guilty of it. I know it because I've really had to work on it. I can get going pretty quick, right? Like I know my pace can like get, pretty quick down the road. So I'm constantly doing that. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start with that. And then we're going to work on like implementing, those strategic pauses, right? We remember how long 5 seconds felt. It feels that long for the client. So they're going to say something to break the silence. Okay. So as you sit through that, realize, it's sitting there and how long it's going through. So, that side of things is important. And then what I want to do on here is take that and just do some live calls. Like let's live dial some leads, right? Get in here, call together, right? And like, let's record them. I'll happily be the guinea pig because everybody's going to not volunteer. So, but I'm happy to do that and help and really sit down and listen to, hey, what's the speed? What's the approach? Understanding that like this, I would argue with the way we operate now, right? When you were in the home, for those who ever have gone in the home or met with clients in person, I would argue mirroring in your presence with them is more important because people are looking at you. Now, most of the time they can't see us. Tone and pace is the most important. And it's not like really close. So this is something I've done for years and years with, people that have worked for me in sales. All right. What's up, Miss Woods?
All right. So what is your approach with mirroring? Okay. So you're setting the appointment and maybe you caught them, they're at work, they're rushed. So you feel their nervous or rushed energy, but they are willing to answer your questions. So in that scenario, I find myself speeding up in that scenario because I'm trying to get the information because I feel the energy from them that they're just either, it's just a feeling of rushness, right? In those particular situations, how would you, so if I lower and go slow, I'm not matching them and it's just gonna, either they're gonna hang up or like, what do you suggest for that, for the new people?
What do you think your show rate is for those kind of that you do just go through it and you do rush with them? Do you think that emotional connection's made?
Oh, no, I know that. Yeah. Like, so how do you overcome that?
By staying low and slow. Even when it's uncomfortable. Okay. because if you can get the emotional connection, it will be important to them. Right? That's where, while talking at that speed and having that better pace, right, will help them be calm, right? Your calmness will help bring that across, right? Have we ever ran up to someone that you saw you were frantic? Like, how many people here have I woo-sawed right before? Probably a good chunk of you, right? I'll just walk up to you and be like, okay, hey, we're talking, like, big breath, right? Like, I get you to take that big breath and kind of, right? Like, I think a good chunk of you on this call I've had a conversation with, I've probably done that too. That is what you want to do there, right? You're trying to get them to do that on their, like, oh, okay, this is important to me, right? Because for me, those are like what ends up being the best appointments, because they were rushed, but I kept my tone and pace. And then I turned them around to get them to emotionally connect, right? So that's what I'm trying to do. They're going to show up because of their why, not our why. They're not going to show up because you're the best salesman that's ever lived or best salesperson that's ever lived. That's not why they're going to show up. They're going to show up to that appointment because they have an emotional connection to want to protect them and their family, whether it's their mother, brother, sister, or cousin, right? Whoever it is. That's the emotional connection that you got to create, and going slower will help with that, right? And I'll make a joke about it, right? Like, you know, if they're trying to rush me, I'm like, man, you ain't got to throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? Like, I'm going to say something to pattern break them, okay? So that's where, like, from a pattern break standpoint, you can do that. So, but again, it's mirrored, but keep your pace, right? We're the professionals. We're there to help them. That will make, in my opinion, a huge difference.
Yeah, so I'm glad you touched on that, because a lot of new agents, you know, in my experience with working with them, you know, they get, you know, they're nervous already. So then if you get a situation, you know, they start skipping steps. And when you start skipping steps, you're just, you know, you think, you know, you got an appointment, woohoo, right? But like you said, is that really a solid appointment? And did you do yourself justice by going through each step, or did you feel rushed because of their energy? So trying to manage that by, like what you said, lowering your voice. It's almost even more important, right, Trevor?
Yeah.
Do that in those situations, because if they really, if this is really a priority to them, they will come down to your level, and you're guiding them down to your level versus you matching them. And then they just want to get off the phone. You think you're doing them just service, right? You're skipping steps in between because you're feeling their anxiety has now projected itself onto you. So great job. I just wanted to touch on that.
Yeah, right. And also, when you're going in that speed, know what it does? It gives you more time to get that objection that you might not have unconsciously competent, right? Especially if you're new, you're like, oh, hey, where's that box I checked for that one? Where is it? Oh, that one's in the middle. Got it. Right? If you're using the zip script and you're trying to really learn your objections, where you haven't been here for all these years, someone like Debbie or Steve or Chris, right, that have done this for so much longer, where they're unconsciously competent now. Okay. So now when they go at it, it's like, oh, they don't have to think about it. Okay. They're like, hey, it's there, right? And this is how I knock it out. Does that make sense? Yes, no, maybe so. Just some quiet head nods here.
Very much sense.
All right. So any questions on that?
I have one just for clarification. On our normal conversation that we're recording, it doesn't have to be a phone call. It can be a normal, or you want it to be a phone call?
Yeah, I want it to be normal. Like,
Okay.
like you, right? Like, hey, just record yourself just talking to the hubby, or, at one of your rodeo things, and just record yourself. Just listen and go back and just listen to how you have a just normal conversation, and then listen to how you sound on the phone and ask yourself if they sound the same. Most of the time we don't sound the same, like almost every time. And we want to sound the same. The most successful agents and salespeople in the world sound the same talking to you as they do on the phone, right? Like the most successful sound exactly the same. Like, so that's what I used to do is like, if we were in a live office situation, what I would do is like, hey, when, you know, I'd be like, hey, Sandra, you know, I heard you and Eileen and Kristen and Katie are going to get lunch. Hey, when you're there, just put the phone out, record it for 5 minutes, and then listen to yourself and listen to them talk, right? And then go listen to them on the phone and tell me how you think they sound, right? And it might be like, hey, this person's a stud and they're great at sales. They probably sound the same. And then you're like, oh, that person's not great. Oh, they sound totally different on the phone. That's what like this exercise does, is this exercise gets us to start reshaping our speed, and it will increase appointments, it will increase sales, everything will speed forward.
Trying to get my.
Oh, I should have left her on mute. Kid herself. I don't know. All the suspense. She's gonna have to tell us what she was getting herself for. All right. So next, we're gonna do two things today. So that's homework. Okay. So how many of us are familiar with what the Ivy Lee method is for time tracking and priority tracking? Has anybody ever actually
I've heard of it, but I mean,
have you ever like looked at it and understand what it is?
Nope.
Yeah, they have it. They have it on the I want to say it's on like the Quality trading stuff.
Yep, because it's one of the best methods in the world for time tracking. Okay, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say most of us here, it's there, right? Yeah, I like Miner, Allison, same. Like I'm not everything with him just because my natural style, but like that, I think he is spot on with his pace and tonality. Agreed. I think he is fantastic at that. Totally. Those are great videos to watch. I just, right. Like it's his, you know, he's really good at reframing, which is what I like, right? Like that's what I think where my strength is I'm good at like reframing things. So I like that with him.
Yeah, he's great.
So, all right. So I built, if you guys want to do, and you really want to track your priorities and what you're doing, I built something for everybody. Okay. So it's in the Google Drive. All right. So I'm going to share this. Okay. This is the master copy. Again, when you guys want copies of this stuff, we do make a copy. We don't use the master copy. It is not our own. Right. Yes, I do have a backup because I don't trust everybody, but don't use it. Just open it, click make a copy, and it will go to your drive. Okay. So let's talk about what it is. Okay. Essentially, what the Ivy Lee method says, okay, is it says when you start in the evening, you start planning your day ahead. Okay. And what you want to do is you want to list 6 tasks, because the reality is you're not getting to more than 6 in a day, most likely. That's just like mathematical fact. Okay. So you want to, you know, set your tasks, right? What are my appointments, right? And you want to number these tasks 1 through 6 in priority. Okay. So this daily priority tracker, you can write the date, the task, priority 1, and then we'll talk about categories. Okay. So, and you want to add tags like client, recruiting, training, right? Like those different type of things. You can tag this however your brain works. There's no right or wrong on tag, but on the very end, I have a thing that I explain how to use each tab. Okay. So when you forgot and you go to message me and say, hey, Trevor, I don't know how to use this. There you go. You got directions. Okay. So I'm going to blow this up so everybody can read it a little easier. Okay. So, right, daily priority tracker. So this is how Ivy Lee works, right? You want to write down 6 tasks. You number them, okay? And when you get going, you start with 1 before you do 2, okay? And you might not get through all 6 each day, but you want to go down to do it, okay? But how do you do the tags, right? Tag client means presentations, follow-ups, okay? And you want to track those versus your goals. Because what I'm trying to teach you how to do is how to track your activities to see if your activities are matching what your number is, right? You say, hey, I want to make 20 grand this month. Are your daily tasks and activities, the things we can actually manage, mapping to what my goals are? Okay. So what you're able to do is create a task library. Okay. So they exist, and then do weekly reviews, monthly reviews. Okay. And then we'll go over the priority matrix. All right. But as we go through that, I can't recommend enough like how important this is to me. Okay. So I have in the mornings, when I get up, I know, hey, today, like example, this is one of my tasks for the day. Okay. I got to do this sales training. I got to make sure I was prepared, right? Like I got to make sure, hey, I have the course curriculum ready. That's a task for me, right? Maybe it's like, I'll give you guys an example of tasks I have today. I have different agents. I got to listen to their phone calls because they've been recording for me. And I'm going to sit down and go over those with them. That's on my task list today, right? Your task list might be, I need to make 100 dials today. Your task list might be, I got to go to Costco today. That's also a task. You have to work that into your life, right? So as you work everything through, okay, you want to make sure you're doing that, all right? So if you're building a team, right? Team development, schedule training blocks, things like that, okay? What I recommend for weekly review is, our week ends on Friday for Symmetry, okay? We're Saturday to Friday. I recommend on Fridays, look at how many tasks you got done for that week. Review it versus how much revenue you generated. Did I get a bunch of tasks done that allowed me to create the revenue I want to create, okay? Because everybody says go learn the Ivy League method, but nobody teaches it. So I'm like, okay. Yes, Angela, it's already there. I'm loading it out of there. The master copy's there. Yes. So it's in the Google Drive. It's there for you to use. Okay. So think of your task library, use it as your quick reference guide. Okay. Right. We have certain tasks we have to make: dials, carrier follow-up, client follow-up, agent follow-up, whatever that is. All right. Add new tasks as they become regular. Okay. If you're not building yet, you're not going to have recruiting on your task list. If you're building, you're going to have it, right? Whatever that is, it's going to be there. And then you want to categorize them by level. Okay. But you can set your goals. But if we don't track our activities day to day, we're never going to get there. Okay. So, right. Weekly on Friday. Task library implementation, right? Quick reference guide, okay? Monthly metrics, okay? Look at your monthly metrics. Is my task, is what I'm doing from an activity level daily really matching to there? So you use this with the tracker we have in there for tracking your calls, and you guess what? You found out real quick. Your tasks are either mapping that or they're not, okay? They're doing one or the other. So that side of it's there, okay, as you go through, all right? This is a big one for me. Priority matrix, okay? Do you have a personal production versus team production, right? If you're building. Client meeting versus administrative work, right? How many appointments versus there, right? Did I go to so many webinars and sales trainings this week I didn't dial, right? You can out-train yourself here, okay? Recruitment time, hey, great, it's great to recruit them, but am I training them, right? Am I helping my agents get to where they want to be, right? And adjust this according to what your goals are right now, okay? Whatever those are, you can set them in there, okay? So here's an example of a tag system, okay? Urgent, must do today. If I tag it as urgent, I have to knock that out today. Oh, hey, I got an NSF notice from a client, right, today, and I don't have time to call them. That's probably going on my task list under urgent as a top priority for the next day, because none of us here want to charge back. We could probably all agree on that, right? So, hey, that's going to be urgent, okay? Client, direct client work, right? Hey, is that I need to send them a thank you card? Is that I need to follow up? Is that, hey, I'm having to do a paramed on them and I'm checking on them? Or you know, they live in a state, like example, my home state of South Dakota, they actually require policy like receipt. So if they don't log into their email that they get, even though it's digital from the company, it doesn't show as they received it. So little things like that. Okay. Team, do you have team activities, right? Team activities can be this, right? Like, hey, it's there. Okay. I have, you know, our huddle call on Friday with Scott. We all have the huddle call. That's a team activity, right? You know, those are different team things we want to say that's a priority for me that day. Okay. Admin, the thing nobody wants to do, but we all have to, right? I think admin's pretty self-explanatory on what it is, right? Recruiting, right? Are you recruiting? Okay. That's again, if you are, use it. If not, training for me is a big one. Whether I'm doing this or I'm training agents one-on-one, and more importantly, am I getting training for myself, right? Like I also have to grow. Okay. And then follow up. So those are like some base ones. Okay. And then I kind of break down how to use the template, review the numbers, and then just some practical stuff. Okay. Like I kind of like walk you guys through how to use everything and what to do there. So any questions on all that?
You kind of answered it when you said about the, you know, insufficient funds. You know, you got to make that an urgent. So I was going to ask you, right, because you have, you know, you have, you know, the night before you got your 1 through 6 and you feel good about it, right? And then, you know, then life happens overnight, right? Whether
Yep,
it's
absolutely.
so I think you kind of answered. So if it's urgent and it has to get done today, then do you reprioritize or you just move it
What?
for day 2?
I want to know what
said
Emily.
no.
I want to know what Emily was what about. Hold on.
I'm so sorry. My mother said something and I was listening to just Steven talk and I was like, what? And I didn't realize I unmuted myself. I'm so sorry.
No worries.
No, it was worth it. And now I know what you sound like if you get loud. So
Yeah.
no, Katie. I mean, Katie, it just depends. Like things will happen, right? Like they're going to, but if you're writing good business and you're not just trying to make a sale because you need some commission in your pocket, sure. But things happen. It's why I don't let anybody do credit card, right? Like even if the company offers it, you're putting this on a bank account. Like I'm like, you're like, I love that America, I can just tell them no, they don't even offer it. Do EFT, right? Because then the card goes, it happens, you know, life happens, right? So that's when you're talking to clients, you know, you want to look at that thing, but it happens.
Okay. No, thank you. I was just curious because, I mean, obviously, like, I'm newer and, you know, starting this and everything, and I just, like, that's been something I've been wondering, and I've just never really heard anybody talk about, and then you had just mentioned it, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna ask because I'm just curious, like, I want to know the statistics, but, I mean, the one thing I've definitely learned from you and, you know, from Eiley and Kristen and you know, a lot of people is that like follow-up is so important. And like this one guy I've literally been chasing, he was the first guy I ever set an appointment with, and I've followed up with him and I've literally been chasing him almost every day. And so follow-up is just consistency is key. And that's just what I've been learning. So I mean, that's the biggest thing as far as keeping him on the books, I feel like.
Oh, it's you'll hear me say it over and over, right? Follow up is my superpower. I
Yeah.
will follow up with you forever, right? I will call you 15, 20 times, right? Again, the math is very simple. 80% of all sales are made between the 5th and 12th contact. Like that's just simple math. Like I don't care who you are and what industry you're in. Like that is, it's just a pretty much factual statement. And you know, as you sit down and you follow up with them, you'll see like, oh, hey, like, you know, in November, I had a $7,000 APV sale from someone I chased from May 2nd. And I followed up with them and followed up. I literally call myself the pest her name's Cookie, by the way. She lives in Virginia, and her husband's name's Diet. And I chased Cookie and I'd be like, hey, it's your favorite pest. And I would just tell her stories. And she's like, yes, it's important. And, you know, her husband was 76 and had some health issues, but they wanted the full coverage they could get and they had the money for it. So, you know, but if I wouldn't have followed up, right, like, are those contacts worth that there? So back to, you know, the task list, right, of what we're doing, you know, that's why I use that method of using the Ivy League method, right? On that tracker that you have now, right? Set those priorities in there, and you'll find if you match those at the end of the week and you give yourself a self-assessment, like, hey, did my tasks and my priority list match my actual activities of, you know, what I need to produce income? The weeks that it's really good, they match. The weeks that you don't have a lot of tasks completed, you're going to probably notice money and applications sold don't correlate. They go pretty much hand in hand. Well, hey, everybody, I want to introduce Lauren. She's new. She is part of, are you direct to Andrew? Yeah, so all that, she's direct to Andrew Jimenez. So Andrew's got a few agents that are going to be coming in, and this kind of everybody, this isn't everybody, but this is who can make it this week. So, but wanted to introduce you, and this is pretty participatory. So this recording, Lauren, will get uploaded into the files. I kind of gave everybody homework this week. The beginning of the class was about tonality and pace and what we really need to do to like get better appointments and how to lock them down better, and get that show rate up. So, you know, those kind of things there. So cool. Welcome. Nice.
Thanks for
All right.
making that for us and sharing it with us, Trevor. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, that's why, right? Like, that's why we have, you know, all that stuff in there is for that reason.
So great.
Yeah, that's what the drive's there for, right? Just remember, like, when it says master copy, you are supposed to make a copy, right? Like, the counting what counts, right? Like, make a copy, right? Like, if it's an Excel file, make a copy through there. So that way you have it in your shared system and you can track it yourself.
I'm glad you clarified that because I thought you were telling everybody that I was the master and it was specifically for me. So thank you.
You'll notice, Lauren, that they all like to very much give you a hard time. So I definitely get like little brother treatment, even though like I'm taller than Andrew, by the way. So yeah, so they like giving me a hard time. It's how they show they love me.
I
All
made a copy, and it's saved to my drive, but it's saving to the main drive too as my copy that I made.
Yeah, I'll take care of those. I get them out of there. Just make sure it's in your drive.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I gotta edit one from Bender and Debbie right now. So it's all good. It's what it does it. No, it's not bad. It auto does it. There, you can't fix that in Google Drive. I clean them up. That's why you don't notice them there. I keep our files pretty well organized in case you haven't noticed. All right. Does anybody have any questions while we're here in the last few minutes on anything they're struggling with, client stuff they want to go over? Well, we got a couple minutes left.
So I'm gonna be completely honest. I totally forgot about this meeting. That's why I was like 34 minutes late. So I'm sorry. Number two, I missed exactly how are we supposed to access that the document.
So it's you have an email from me, Em, and I'll go over it with you afterwards, where you can click, you know, hey, get access to the file, and this afternoon when you and I meet, we'll go over this stuff and I'll help you out.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just recap our homework. So we are to record ourselves having a normal conversation with just whoever, husband, friends, whatever. And then we're going to record ourselves doing the phone script, or we can do presentation. And then we're going to grade ourselves based on speed and tonality.
Yeah. So Lauren, what we talked about, the big front up front is most people don't talk on the phone like they talk to their friends or family or just a normal conversation. So the homework for the week is just to record yourself having like a normal convo and then record yourself on the phone and let's listen to it each other. And next week, we're going to go over those here.
And I specifically put it back in people's purview because that is something uncomfortable to where their brains probably just totally dismissed it. And it's like, what was that again last week? I'm so doing it. Who here raise a hand, virtual or whatever? Who's going to do it? Dan? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We have comments. Yes. Okay.
All right. Take a picture of this.
Yes.
Snapshot.
I missed a few minutes of that, Trevor. Sorry about the document thing, about an email. Should I give you my email or something?
You have it. I sent that over to you, and like it's in the link in that email I sent you with this. Just click on, hey, share drive, grab access.
All right, awesome.
Yeah, Trevor, I'll probably need that email again. Sorry, we've had internet issues all week. It's annoying.
Yeah, it's all good. I have no problem.
I clearly misplaced it.
Cool. All right. Where's home for you, by the way?
I'm sorry?
Where's home for you, by the way?
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Oh, Tulsa. All right. I've done some time in Tulsa. So
yeah, where are you?
Right now I am in Jacksonville, Florida, but South Dakota's home. But I traveled about 40 in my corporate career. I traveled about 40 weeks out of the year, and I had clients in Tulsa. So I've been to Tulsa quite a few times.
Yeah, so you weren't in prison when you said you were doing
time, Trevor.
What's that?
Yeah, you weren't in prison then, right? When you say you were doing time.
I mean, I got an insurance license. I'm pretty sure I'm not a felon. So
That's what I said to Steve Jinx. I was like, thank you for clarifying what you meant by I did some time in Oklahoma.
that was probably more.
Sounds like a movie.
Tulsa's great. It's Oklahoma City you do time in. So
yeah, Oklahoma City sucks.
Yes, agreed. So it's Oklahoma City is a unique place.
For sure.
Welcome, Lauren. We're all happy to have
Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Cool.
Appreciate it.
All right. Any other questions, sales stuff you guys got? You want to go over? You got me for a couple more minutes. Speak now or forever hold your peace. All right, cool. All right, boys and girls. Well, let's go have a great week. And we will see you all there. Hey, Lauren, hang out a second. I'll help you with some stuff.
Okay, sounds great.
Thanks, Trevor.